welcome to EPTV. We are live on YouTube and I have two incredible guests for you. A world silver medalist and an event rider masters leg winner. I got that in early. Welcome, Sam Watson. We'll start with you.
Thank you, Nicole Brown. Yeah, thanks for having us on the show. Looking forward to it.
We're going to get some really good questions in, actually. But before we do, welcome to our second guest, Alex Bragg.
Hey, Nicole, how are you?
We're good. Do you know what? There are two men that I could sit down and have a lunchtime chat with about all things equestrian, and you two are definitely it. So let's get started, because we're going to answer all of our viewers' questions. And if you would like to ask Sam or Alex any, you can put them in here on the YouTube or on Facebook, and we'll put them to them throughout the show. But before we go into the first question, Sam, how is life in lockdown in Ireland treating you?
Oh, it's really nice, actually, Nicole, I have to say. I mean, we're very busy with equi ratings, so I've still got my office job, but look, it's been beautiful weather. The boys are at home. They're 5 and 6. It's a great age. We're doing a bit of homework. There's a little bit of homeschooling going on, but not too much, mainly playing and boy stuff. My grass gallops have never looked better. My outdoor kind of riding arena that I have, that's grass as well, that's getting mown every time it should do. So the place looks a picture. That, you know, the stud looks great. Fences all look, you know, good. They've all been painted.
Come out of it. Ballyboulder is going to look even better than ever.
Exactly. So no, look, to be honest, I'm enjoying it. I'm missing competitions, but look, the horses are well. They're taking over, and we're enjoying life.
Time at home with the family. Alex, your girls are slightly older. How is your homeschooling, or their homeschooling? Maybe you're being schooled as well. Who knows?
Yeah, I think we're definitely being put through our paces, and I think it's good revision. But no, Simone she sits with the girls every morning, does all that homeschooling to allow me to go out and do the horses and stuff. I just pop in, try and settle the situation when certain things are not going right. But yeah, other than that, life's not really changed for me a great deal, apart from the lack of competing, which I am desperately missing. But horses are great, same as Sam, really. Everybody, the house, the yard, it looks immaculate. Everything's been painted, cleaned. We've got a new irrigation system that runs through our cross country paddocks and field riding paddocks, which is amazing. So yeah, we've really sort of souped up the home property and done stuff which we wouldn't have had time to do while we're sort of, you know, housebound, but feeling very fortunate nonetheless to have all that available right out the back door.
I'm not going to lie, you're making me feel really guilty. I feel like I should go and start painting some fence or something at home. Maybe I will later. Okay, well, we are live on YouTube and Facebook. So as I say, if you've got any questions about Sam and Alex, it is your show. So send them in and we'll put them to them. Okay, let's start. So the first question I've got in is from Sophie, who says she's got a young horse that she's hoping to event, but is really, and this is the horse is not keen on water. Have you got any tips to help her sort of get the horse a little bit more confident, and so they don't have a problem when they go out competing? Alex, I'll come to you first, because you've done a lot of videos recently on working with the young horses.
Yeah, I think I just done a video with the baby horses that we just backed, about introducing them to water, and then another young horse that was taking on. So if she wants to get on Facebook on Team Bragg Eventing, then she would be able to access those videos, and they give you step-by-step sort of dialogue to go through with the horses. So from working them on the ground to go into the water.
So would you actually start them on foot rather than on board?
Well, now we have, you know, we're really fortunate working with one of our owners. We've built a water jump in our sort of cross country field and things. So now it's at home and I have access to it. Yeah, I go down in a head collar and a lunge line and step them through it as you would introducing them to any sort of groundwork, down drops and over little ditches and stuff. And then when you literally get on board, you've already sort of battled with the main bit, the introduction bit. And then it's just a case of encouraging them and getting used to your balance on top of the horse as well.
So would you say as well, Sam, almost go back to basics? Alex is saying, just go back to square one and just start again to a degree.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sam. Yeah, sorry.
Well, I agree with Alex in terms of working them from the ground. I love doing that. Same with ditches, same with banks. And so the key really is to find a venue. If you don't have something at home, find a place that's suited to it. So you want to be able to, I would take the horses down on a lunge line and just walk them through it. And the fact that I'm getting my foot in the water first helps the horse to get a little bit of trust. Patience. Don't, try not to get the heart rate racing. Their heart rate's obviously going to go up, but just take your time and then get them through it. And then it's just repetition. So don't, I think when I used to have a problem, whether it was ditches or waters, I used to sometimes go for an adrenaline kind of, it was kind of, some people would say, take them hunting and just get them following horses and all that. And for me, they don't fully accept it then. There's still quite a lot of adrenaline. And I do a lot of work with race horses and stuff like that. So you get that when something's just happening almost off flight instinct, it's not as useful to them when you're going cross country by yourself around a 90 or 100. And you want the horse to just nicely pop through the water because there might be a skinny around the corner or something. So you need them to be relaxed and accept it. So back to basics, nice and calm, lots of repetition, loads and loads of repetition. Yeah. Like
that a lot. And go and see the Team Bragg Facebook page for videos of Alex doing exactly that. That was very useful. There you go, Sophie. Okay, Jenny, who is from Bicester, actually, says, what do you look for in a horse? So a young horse, one even that you're buying that's a little bit more experienced. Alex, what sort of catches your eye? What floats your boat?
The main thing for me is that the horse is showing some sort of athleticism, really, and willingness in its sort of eye and its look, and it wants to go forward. If you've got that, then it's just training. So just look for something. I mean, some people go down the breeding lines, which gives you a bit of guidance to whether it should have enough sort of staying power or speed or jump, which is also scope is really, really important for our job. But yeah, athleticism and willingness is what I look for. And then you can just mold the horse into whatever you want it to be.
Actually, that's one of the next questions. So how important breeding is to you, Sam? Like, I know that it's something that you're quite passionate about. You've bred a few yourselves, one horse in particular. What is it to you? Is it the breeding? Is it just you sort of a nice type of horse?
No, yeah, it's like, this is a skill sport. So it's a bit like golf. I mean, there's definitely breeds of horses where you can put yourself at a disadvantage, if they, and you got to remember, like, eventing is very different levels. So if you're talking about a 1 or 2 star horse versus a 5-star horse, you're talking about very different animals. So, you want to have enough engine for a horse to go around 5-star. And because we show jump after cross country, they've got to go around Badminton and Burley and not be all out. They've got to be able to do that and go, okay, that was a day's work, but I'm ready for another day's work tomorrow. So that's the only place where breeding kind of comes into it. And okay, there are some traits, like I do like the Irish horses, unbelievable work ethic and stuff like that. So it's a kind of a marginal thing, but you're only giving yourself a very wide pool. And from then you've got to pick the individual, and it's so much training. It's a skill sport. So breeding would be far more important. If we were talking about testing power to the extreme, like show jumping, when they're jumping big 1.60 m fences, fence after fence, or in the racing where you're testing speed to extreme, breeding's more important, far less important in eventing. So it's back to, and I'd be with Alex, it's for me, it's that athleticism. Love to see a good balanced canter, love to see a bit of footwork, that they're clever. I do loads of loose jumping. So, and sometimes I'll go to view a horse and I'll be looking around saying, look, the first thing I want to do is I just want to see that, even if it's a 6 or 7 year old horse, I'd like to see him loose, because I just want to see what his natural instincts are like, his natural mentality and his natural physical ability without someone helping him with the balance. I want to see it naturally. So that's it really for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you loose jump your older horses at home?
Yeah, lots. Like at the moment, every week, because obviously with lockdown in the situation, if I want to get them in the air, I'm doing that. But they will always, at least once a month, they'll always do it, because they need to stay sharp. And like when I ride cross country, I want to be quite positive and attacking all the time. And I need the horse just like loose jumping is great, because you can set up so that a nervous horse gains confidence, because you can keep it nice and small and they've got to do it by themselves, so they get confident. And then a horse who's just a little bit on the brave side and could maybe get themselves into trouble, that's the place to let them get into trouble, because there's no one to blame except themselves. They can't blame me, because I'm not doing anything. So I do that as well. So I like it. I have loads of different exercises that I use, and some people would think I'm maybe a little bit strange, but I've cleared most of them with Yogi Breisner, and he seems to agree
Oh,
with
if
me.
he thinks it's okay, then they're surely fine. Okay, if somebody hasn't ever loose jumped their horse before, how would they start? If they think, do you know what, actually now is the perfect time to start, what would be the first thing that they should do? Because are you worried that if you don't have an indoor school, they're going to go and take themselves off out of the school? How do you sort of start?
Yeah, you need a nice safe area, and to be honest, let them be used to. So if you did have an indoor arena or an outdoor arena that's a suitable size, try, like mine's 20 by 40, which is a perfect size, because you know the bigger it is, the more kind of space and speed they can get up. So they use some show jumps to sort of make a little area or something like that, so they can't get out, so it's safe. But to be honest, the first couple of times, just turn them out there as though that's their turnout, so that they're in that space and they're relaxed in that space. And then you can start to just loose school them, so they get used to being told to sort of trot around in a circle and get used to it. And once they're settled and they're not just galloping around with their tail in the air snorting like some sort of dragon that's been let out for the first time, then you can start to introduce some jumps, and then it's just playing with grid work and things like that. Build it. Make it easy for them. So like I would use a place pole. A lovely little invention is that you can get these, I don't know if you can get them in the UK, but in Ireland you have these like plastic cushiony poles. So they're like canter poles, but they're not made of wood or plastic. They're waterproof, but they're like made of foam. So the horse looks at them, but if they hit them all ends up, it's just padding. Yeah, exactly. So but definitely, like the top tip for me is let them get used to that space and be relaxed in that space.
Start small, start easy. Alex, how about you? Are you a fan of doing any loose jumping with I know you do loose jumping with your lambs at home at the moment, but what about the horses?
We do a little bit. We have a big round pen, which we would sometimes put a little jump up in. It's not ideal to do anything fancy, but no, other than that, I do most of the work ridden, which is maybe a different approach. But I do think it's the facilities you have available to you. You know, the side of our arena maybe wouldn't be high enough, that I would maybe be concerned at some point the horse might want to just pop out of that. So it's a lot easier if you have a barn on the side, or you just have maybe sort of 6 foot 6 sides to an arena or something like that. But so no, I don't do it. But actually listening to Sam and watching some stuff as you do through YouTube, I've seen Andrew Hoy in his indoor running his horse through a grid of like 6 bounces and stuff. And actually the way that the horse worked and how straight it was unbelievable. And I thought, God, I'd love to be able to do that. So I'm still figuring out how I'm going to be able to do that, but maybe I think I might incorporate it
at some point in the next few weeks, that you can sort of think, oh, do you know what? It's safe now. I'll give it a go.
Oh God, horse rider come carpenter or something. Yeah.
/ farrier. Alex, before he came onto this show, actually was just out there. He'd been shoeing his horses this morning.
Yeah, I had. Yeah, still got to do the old day job.
Still got it, Alex. There you go. For anybody that doesn't know, he was a farrier before he became an event rider. Okay, next question. Amelia from Dorset would like to know top tips for walking a cross-country course at sort of grassroots level, or tell us your tips for walking badminton, but what do you look for when you're out walking a course? What are your first impressions when you see it for the first time? Sam, come to you first, because we actually did a show on this recently with Ian Stark, so it's pretty topical, because actually it can be a bit of a minefield. It's not just a case of fences 1 to 20.
No, I mean, first question is, when you're walking a course for the first time, think, what's my horse going to be looking at here, and what are they thinking? So if it's kind of like an into space drop, be prepared for them to be, and know your horse as well. Are they going to back off? Are they going to not back off and need to be set up? So think about how your horse is going to think. That's the first thing, particularly as you approach the fence. And then when you get to the fence, think, why has the course designer, what's he got in mind here? Is this a fence where he wants to test my ability to stay jumping out of a rhythm? Is it is it a fence with a nice profile in the middle of a field, nice ground line, and that all I have to do is just make sure the horse has seen it, get the balance right, and then jump it out of a rhythm? Or have they, place something around the corner where I need to have a bit of control? Have they made, is there a bit of a drop fence where I need to have my balance and the horse's balance, so I need to change gear? And just think about what the question is. Think about what your horse is thinking and what's the question. And then after that, make it, once those two things are aware, I would never get too hung up on strides. I mean, that's the other thing about, now it's great information. So I'm not in the camp of saying that strides don't matter, because I think it's great to have a plan A. It's great to know the distance, so that, if it walks quite long, and we get to know these fences, and even if it's a little bit uphill, it's a little bit downhill, if you walk your distances, you'll learn, you get better at saying, oh, that walks long, but it's not going to ride long because of where it is in the course or whatever. And you're developing your information bank all the time. So I do walk distances, but I don't go, this has to be 3 or this has to be 4. I'm always open to, it could go either way, but there's plan A, there's plan B. Be very comfortable with that, and then just go with it.
Alex, how about you?
Yeah, I think especially when you're just starting at grassroots level, I'll elaborate a little bit on what Sam said about trying to get into the horse's mind and what the horse is going to see and experience. Because after all, once you've walked it, you know the course, but the horse still doesn't. So, and my thing when I'm sort of teaching, especially with the children, is horses are flight animals. So they want to see somewhere that they're going to go. So if you have the option of approaching a fence where there's space behind it, that is more inviting to a horse than if you come on an angle where there would be tree or foliage behind it, where the horse is coming in and would be distracted to see whether it's going to be trapped the other side of the fence. So do bear that in mind when you're walking the course. Look ahead of you. Try not to just talk and fiddle away on Facebook on your phone, and actually walk the fields and look ahead of you. See the track the horse is going to be galloping on and what he's going to see. Imagine where the fence judges are going to be. And then you should be able to hopefully predict a little bit more the behavior of your horse when you're riding. But other than that, I think Sam covered it. He's pretty good at his job, isn't he?
He's all right, isn't he? Yeah, we'll both be learning something from this. He's won a silver medal at the World Equestrian Games, Alex.
Yes.
Should have worn
it. Every
it should be hanging up.
Is it? Have you got it, Sam? Actually,
it's in the other room. I should
He's
have worn it,
blush.
shouldn't I?
Yeah, he is. We're embarrassing him now. That's okay. We give him plenty of grief. It's fine. Okay. Next one. Okay, this is quite an interesting one, because I think it's something that a lot of people actually, particularly at lower levels, wouldn't necessarily know. They hear a lot about it, they don't necessarily know about it. Katie wants to know, how does she know which studs she should be using? So how do you decide, big studs, little studs, front studs, back studs, whatever it may be, how do you decide that? Alex, actually, from a farrier's perspective, that would be quite good to come to you first on, because obviously you're in charge of putting them in.
Yeah, okay, so always, if I stud up, I always have pairs of studs. Stud holes in my shoes. So I would always stud with a stud on each side in each front foot, because the action of the knee mechanics is just forward and back. So if you just have a stud on the outside and the horse lands, there's too much twist and rotation for me on the joints. So it's going to make your horse uncomfortable. So make sure that you stud up evenly each side. Now with the hind feet, it's slightly different, because there's a little bit of rotation in the push when the horse pushes off. It's probably getting a bit too technical. So you can just put a stud in the outside if your horse struggled with brushing or stepping on itself. You had a young horse, for example, that might be quite spooky. It might strike itself with the inside stud on the back leg, just going to the start box where it's excited and spinning around. But I would generally always stud 2 studs, 1 on each side in each foot. And you would always, for me, I would always go bigger behind if I was going to than I would in front. Don't stud in front larger than you would behind.
Okay.
Remember that the front end has got to get out the way of that back end. Once it's pushed to take off, the front studs hit the ground to give you traction to stop the horse slipping, but they've also got to be able to pick those front feet, get them out of the way before the back end comes back through. Don't overstud. That's a key thing for me, is, start off a little bit more reasonable in your sort of choice of studs, and then build up from that. And you will learn through experience which horses need slightly bigger studs than others. And that is relative to their size and their power sometimes when they're pushing around a corner. But always start a bit smaller. And if you're in the lorry park, don't be afraid. If somebody is there and it looks like they've got 2 minutes to spare, just ask, just say, look, what are you putting in? I still do that now. Sometimes if I've seen someone already ride around a cross-country course, or even going in the dressage on grass, because where you're warming up is not always the same as the competition arena. And I'll just say, look, what did you put in and how did you think it felt? It's not going to be the same feel as you're going to get with your horse, but it might give you an idea, especially if you see the horse they're riding and it looks a similar type to yours. So, but yeah, ask people, ask for advice, but start small and then
Build
work
up.
bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, anything?
Yeah, get yourself a Sparks.
You can Sam's wife. I mean, he's not going to be letting her go anywhere.
Cheating.
But we'll have a conversation. That the key, well, I completely agree with that. It's always like definitely with the front studs, err on the side of smaller. The one ground to be really aware of is starting to get it this time of year when the ground starts getting firmer, and then there's either been a shower of rain or you're going out early and there's a lot of dew on the ground. It's the slippy ground that is the one to watch out for. But as long as their back legs have a bit of grip, you're going to be fine. I can't remember having any problems because I didn't have big enough studs in front, except for worrying that maybe it jarred a horse up or something like that. As in it would be for being too big. I've never.
Okay, so start small.
Start small, and it's not a substitution for riding your horse in a balance. And so just remember, it's a little bit of a tool. I'm the same with bitting. Don't overbit, don't overstud. Start with riding your horse properly, and then it's an extra tool to have.
Okay, I like that one. And actually that leads us on well. We've had a question from Jimmy that says, do you think riders can be too quick to blame their horses when things go wrong? Are most errors down to human error or lack of training? That's a good question. I think I know what you're going to say, Sam. All training. If you're not good enough, train harder.
Well, I changed my mindset about 3 years ago. I said, right, I'm not when I'm in the saddle and riding the horse, I don't view myself as an athlete. I view myself as a coach, and I am my horse's coach. So my job is to help. If something goes, if the horse makes a mistake, I'm saying, like, everyone can make mistakes. So has the horse learned from it? And so therefore it's going, and can he blame me for it? So a lot of the times when people are making mistakes and it all ends up, it doesn't matter whether the horse was too fast and didn't listen to you or whatever, but if you're swinging out of them and in the wrong place, the horse is going to blame you for that mistake. So it's all about the horse's education, helping them learn. They sometimes will make mistakes, and that's completely normal because every athlete will. And the crucial thing is that they've understood it and they learn from it and they don't get rattled and disappointed from it. But a lot of the time we've got to help them with that process. We've got to help them to understand the question, make sure they enjoy it. Like any coach, you can't just be, sometimes we've got to push the comfort zone, top level sport. Everyone's got to work hard. Can't be afraid of working hard and getting them to enjoy that hard work. And they do enjoy it. They do feel good after a tough session, but you can't have a hard session every day. So yeah, look, it's for me, my job is to get the horse to understand the job and enjoy the job.
I think that's a nice little phrase people can take away that are watching this. You are coaching your horse every time you're on board. I like that a lot. Okay, nerves. Sophia wants to know, do you get nervous and how do you manage those nerves? Alex?
Fear is her name. Her name.
Yes, there you go, Sophia. Very apt. I hadn't seen that before.
Self-fulfilling prophecy, that name.
Alex, do you get nervous?
Yeah, of course I do. Get nervous and excited. I think it's a little bit difficult if somebody's nerves are overtaking their excitement, then they got to ask themselves, why are they doing it? But yeah, I mean, I could tell you the times when I'm going to get nervous at points in a competition. So if I was at a 3-day event, for example, the cross country is sometimes the most nerve-wracking bit for a lot of people. And I always do my final course walk in the morning, early in the morning, when it's really, really quiet, on my own. And I'm walking the course, and I'm walking it as if I'm riding it. And my adrenaline is going through the roof, and the nerves are all there, and the excitement is there. My heart rate's up. And then I get back to the lorry, I sit down, I calm, I speak to a few people, and then I get on the horse and it's gone for me. So I do get nervous, but I know when it's going to happen, and I know that I can control it when I get on board. And I think that's the thing, is not being afraid of nerves, because it's a natural thing, and the nerves will really sort of keep you alert and on point. You know, they give you that adrenaline rush that makes you actually react quicker, which you really need for your riding and stuff, especially that cross country. So so don't be afraid of the nerves. Just try and figure them out within yourself, and then try and work out, well, how can I put these nerves to best use? And then when you realize that you're not afraid of them, actually they don't become a disadvantage. They actually become an advantage to you.
There you go, channeling them in your direction. Sam, are you a nervous chap? I can't imagine that you do get nervous. I could be wrong.
I'm quite cold about the whole thing because of how analytical I would be about it. But no, I do. It's fear of failure is what your body's telling you, or your mind is telling you. So when you're at badminton, you've been preparing for this for a long time. There's a huge upside if it goes well. So it means a lot. So the desire for it to go well, and basically the fear of it not going well is what that feeling is. Basically, that the stakes are high. Now, if you don't have false confidence, so if you are going there off the back of really bad preparation and you're struggling to go well around 4 stars, and you're now at your first 5-star, your nerves are actually just information telling you. Your mind knows, deep down your subconscious knows, that there's a good chance that this isn't going to go well. So that's not great shape to be in for starters, but they're never going to go completely away, because even Michael Young and Libio Sadik Sam have a chance of it not going well. So he's going to have that little bit of nerves as well. And when he's, jumping to win gold or whatever. So that's when I think it's quite useful to then focus on going, look, that's never going to go away, that fear of failure. So what do I concentrate on? Which is probably what Alex is going through when he sits on the horse. He's straight away going, well, what's my job? Now I've got to get the horse warmed up. I've got to make sure he's straight. I've got to make sure he's focused. I've got to make sure his heart and lungs are warmed up. He's got his eyes on the fence, so you start focusing on what you do need to do, and don't let that fear of that there's always a chance of it not going well. Don't let that consume you. Focus on the positives. So 2 things: A, have a plan of what's positive to do, but also don't completely ignore. Don't put yourself in a situation where failure is is highly likely. That's not a good thing to do.
Don't set yourself up to fail.
Exactly.
What's the expression? Failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
Yeah, that's a good expression. Yeah.
There you are. Okay, next couple of questions. If you have got any questions either on Facebook or on YouTube for Sam and Alex, now is your chance to send them in. We're just going to do a couple more. First up is, what is your go-to exercise in the school? Sam, yours, is it loose traffic?
No, for me. I mean, I do like that for the horses, footwork and agility and all that sort of stuff, and mentally actually. But no, for me, it is canter pulse. That's what really turned I was an awful show jumper, absolutely awful show jumper. And I've been using this with a lot of people on Form. That's our new coaching app as well, because it's a really good, there's loads of different canter pull exercises you can do. And you can't jump your horse because they get tired, and it's a lot of effort on them as well. Canter pulls you can do. And if you are accurate as a rider, again, I don't care. It's the complete opposite to the loose schooling where you're putting all the responsibility on the horse. I take so much responsibility when it comes to accuracy. And I practice it day in, day out. There's rarely a day when I don't canter over a pole, just because you just keeping your eye in. It's like the golfers putting balls in the hole, just putting.
And actually,
or just
that's
driving.
Something people can do with very little.
Yeah.
They don't need a big ball,
or 2,
a couple of poles.
Yeah, or 2 or 3 or
space.
Yeah. And then it's about being constructive. So again, like I've testing exercises where you're just testing your eye, going, where is it? So that, again, that's back to confidence as well, knowing that like I can go down to, say, a small little cavaletti 50 times in a row without making a mistake. Whereas 4 or 5 years ago, I couldn't do 10 in a row without being, a little bit deep, a little bit off, or a complete howler. So it's good to test,
Take
but
that
then
one out by the roots.
exactly. So, but then you've got your exercises to train your eyes. So that's usually related distances and playing with the canter, and that gets into purposeful practice. So so there's lots of little exercises like that. So, but canter poles, basically, I could do an awful lot.
Canter poles for Sam. Alex, how about you?
Well, I think Sam covered most pole work exercises in that, really, which I think, are really vital. And be imaginative, figure out what you struggle with. If it is an accuracy thing or an angles thing, then you can easily set up little poles on the ground and cavalettis to practice that. And I think Sam's thing is repetition, and it really works for the horses and for us as riders to get our eyes in. So definitely. And away from sort of jumping and stuff like that, then I would say just leg yielding your horse, getting lateral suppleness and the horse to be responsive to your leg on both sides of it, and also learning about your weight distribution, getting the horse to follow your weight. So just simply going left to right. When you can do left to right, and this is easy both ways, you'll find it a lot easier to go straight. So that's a good little tip.
There you go.
If you've got a horse which is very one-sided. So.
A little bit of information as well, because I do loads of it with the race horses that come into me. And the Kenyan runners do an awful lot. They run diagonals, crisscrossing them, basically doing human leg yields. They do an awful lot of that because it's great for the core, and it's just good posture as well. They're engaged as they do it. So that fascinated me when I saw it, when I was looking up on fitness, and I saw that the Kenyan human runners do leg yielding for humans.
I bet that is something people didn't expect to learn when they tuned in this lunchtime, but I think that's very, very useful and good advice. And actually, the thing that I take from that is you're actually at the basics and making sure they are really right. You don't have to be going out jumping 1.30 m, 1.40 m all the time, going at it at the highest of what you're looking to do. It is all the basics, which kind of builds the foundations, good foundations. Okay, last few questions. A quick one for you. Cresswell eventing, or it could be Cresswell eventing, actually, sorry. Your go-to snack in the lorry at competitions. Sam, you take your health pretty seriously. You're pretty
I like a spinach smoothie.
Ooh.
So yeah, it works though.
Alex's face.
Half a banana, a few ice cubes, a few prunes.
Sounds delicious.
Loads of spinach, then just fire it in. And if you have a bit of that almondy, milky stuff, that's good. Or else some low-fat milk, just throw it in there, or water, about half milk, half water. Yeah.
Alex, dairy milk, anything?
Do you know that's been really interesting for me, because I thought Sam always looked serious at an event because he was concentrating. But it's really because all that's going around his tummy and he's feeling sick the whole time. So total opposite, and I'll be killed for saying it, but I have jelly babies. Babies are lovely, and they're easy to eat, and they give you that little sugar hit when you're jumping from one horse to another. Don't eat them all the time because they're very, very bad for you other than that. But yeah, I do. Jelly babies would be it, alongside all of my healthy snacks that World Class support me with. So.
I'll be honest, I know whose lorry I'm coming to raid, and it isn't Sam Watson's.
Almond milk. What?
I love that when he packs his lorry to go to Buccalo or something, he's got his almond milk and his spinach on the go.
Ice cube. I steal Sparks' ice cubes from my smoothies, and she gets really annoyed because she's been saving them for the horses. Mark Kyle drove me to Lemoulin's quite a drive, actually. It's from Dover up to Lemoulin is a good old trek. And Mark Kyle drove me back in the day. I think it was the Europeans back in 2011, and he went through one of those big tubs of gummy bears, and he was just sort of eating. As we drive into Lemoulin, he was like he was like, "Oh my God, I've just eaten a whole tub of gummy bears." And he wanted to sleep. He was like, "Okay, I'll get there. I'll take the horse off, get him into a stable, and I'm going to go and sleep." Nikki was just like this. He was like, "I've had too many gummy bears."
And Sam was totally judging while sipping on his spinach smoothie in the morning.
It took him until about his dressage day, about 2 days later, before he finally came down, and then he was on a low during his dressage.
Oh, don't say that. Guys, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. We could keep asking you questions all day, but on the spinach note, I think we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Sam, Alex. It's been an absolute delight to have you on EPTV. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
No problems.
Thank you.
And so, Alex, congratulations on an excellent second place in the Simulated Riders Connected competition last night.
Oh, yeah, no, we're still living it up. I think celebrations right the way through to next weekend, actually. So
absolutely. Don't blame you. We hope you've enjoyed watching. We hope that you've enjoyed all of Sam and Alex's answers and that they've been helpful as well. I certainly learned a thing or two, and one of those is definitely that I'm not going into the house to make a spinach smoothie after this show. But thank you very much for watching. Make sure you join us on Wednesday, 5 o'clock. The legend that is Mike Catamol will be talking to Josh Apiafi and Rod Street on the future of racing post-lockdown after everything that has been going on. So catch up with Mike 5 o'clock on Wednesday here on EPTV. Make sure you subscribe and you can tick the little alarm bell that will notify you when we go live as well. But thank you very much for watching. Thanks to Sam and Alex for joining us. Bye-bye.
That long
I know.
one.
It was really...
Oh, Nicole's been cancelled.